Yeah, no, I had threat assessments done on me for how dark and fucked my books were. Or my stories and whatever. And the audiobook stream when? Makes me tempted to read out my prologue for all of you. Would you guys like that if I read my prologue for everyone? Well, you'll have to all be some good boys and girls, and I'll do it at the end of my stream. How's that? It'll be your reward for hanging out with me. I'll tell you what, I don't want to make all of you wait, so I'm gonna read the prologue of my book for all of you. As Envis walked by, people pointed at him and whispered. They did not like him very much, as he was well aware. He overheard someone make a nasty remark about his long, wild hair. Envis chuckled to himself. A hollow little sound, but kept walking. He knew why they didn't like him. He was different. He was on the shorter side for a male, only standing at 160 centimeters. His long, disheveled curls brushed his shoulders. Untamed, he donned a travel-worn deer-hide jack with the hallmarks of shoddy tailoring which strongly suggested he fashioned it himself. He had a small backpack and did not wear shoes. He had some half-ripped trousers that did not go far past his knees. His trusty Crovel, Vramioraptor, rested in a loop on his belt, tapping his hip in rhythm with his steps as he strode along down the road. Humans don't like it when something doesn't fit their trivial little molds. Most boys wore the same boots, the same hair, and spoke the same way. Not Envis. He walked as he pleased, dressed as he pleased, and lived as he pleased. And even though he tried to act like he didn't care, it still hurt to know he would never be seen as anything more than an outcast. Don't throw stones from a glass house, Envis muttered. Now where's that inn? He thought to himself, scanning the crooked row of houses, searching for a place he may rest his head. The village, Glowstead, was hardly a village at all. 6 houses and the so-called inn, which was just a leaning shack with a hand-painted sign. Termites would have a field day here. Envis smirked, reaching for the door when something caught his eye. He noticed a little girl sitting against the wall. She couldn't have been more than 8, dressed in rags, her bare feet tucked under her skirt. As Envis approached, the girl looked down shyly. "Hey, where are your parents?" Envis asked in a friendly manner, crouching down so he wouldn't tower over her. "Threw me out." She shrugged as if it were nothing. Envis fingered his rusted gold coin in his pocket. He'd had it for as long as he could remember. A good luck charm of sorts. Or perhaps a cursed talisman. "Yeah," he said softly. "I know what that's like." He held out the coin to her. "Go, get yourself a bed. This should cover at least a night or 2, maybe even some supper." Her eyes lit up as she snatched it, clutching it like a miracle before she darted inside. Envis smiled as he felt an ember of warmth kindle within his heart. "Guess I'm gonna sleep in the woods again," he thought to himself. Envis veered off the road and headed straight towards the ominous moonlit tree line. What am I doing with my life? He wondered, staring up at the pale scatter of stars. I'm wandering aimlessly from place to place. I have no purpose, no reason to keep going. The deeper he walked into the trees, the more the branches closed in overhead, thickening the darkness. And yet, I keep going. Envis stopped and rested his hand against the trunk of a gnarled spruce tree. I ran from home when I was 11. I think I'm 15 now, but I don't really remember. A great, quiet sadness settled in his chest, as heavy as the night pressing down on the trees. I wanted to become an alchemist, but maybe I was lying to myself. I have no purpose. I'm so alone. Nobody ever cared. They just watched while my parents... His throat tightened. "Thank you for the bits, Nova." His throat tightened. He pressed a hand to his chest, feeling the slow, steady beat of his heart beneath his palm. If I closed my eyes now, would it really be so terrible if I didn't wake up? Envis felt an overwhelming desire to just lay down and sleep. It hurt so much all the time. He fell to his knees under the crushing despair in his heart and curled up on his side in a patch of grass that was thankfully pretty dry. I'm just gonna close my eyes for a little while. Envis was having a rather pleasant dream involving an elvish maiden with some scandalously revealing clothing when a shrill scream tore through the night and snapped him awake. His eyes flew open, heart hammering. Was that a scream? A second, equally loud and shrill scream confirmed his suspicions, and he acted in a way that any reasonable teenager would act, and began to run towards the potential danger. Leaves and twigs snapped beneath his bare soles as he sprinted through the trees. Vramyaruptor on his hip bumped against his leg as if it were urging him to pick up the pace. I've heard rumors of an unusual number of animal attacks in the Everdusk woods near Glowstead, he thought to himself calculatingly as he ran at a good 90% capacity, ensuring he would arrive in a timely fashion while not running out of stamina. A third and final scream ripped through the air, spiking his adrenaline and causing him to pick up speed as he deftly leapt over a fallen log, landing gracefully and retaining his momentum. Dangerously close to town, mutilated bodies, no survivors. The trees thinned as he reached the roadside again, and what he saw made his stomach lurch. A chillingly familiar little girl lay in the dirt, throat torn wide open, her limbs twisted at impossible angles. In one limp hand, she clutched a rusted gold coin. He fell to his knees beside her, his throat tight. I wasn't fast enough. I'm never fast enough. He took the coin gently from her fingers. It felt cold and heavy in his palm. He studied his coin blankly for a moment, its dull glimmer in the starlight almost mocking him. "You always manage to find your way back to me," he whispered bitterly, slipping it into his pocket. "I'm sorry," he said aloud, and he closed the girl's glassy, staring eyes as his gaze moved to the mutilated throat. "There's considerably less blood than I thought there would be." A soft crunching of leaves behind him made every hair on his neck stand on end. He turned and stifled a gasp. A tall, slender figure emerged from the tree line, wearing a set of black steel armor draped in a cloak the color of midnight. Waist-length hair like moonlight framed a face so beautiful it was almost unnatural. Her eyes were bottomless pools of black, reflecting no light at all. Her skin radiated a ghostly glow. Her ears were long and sharp like that of an elf. Envis scrambled to his feet, his heart battering against his ribs. Good evening," he stammered, bowing low out of habit rather than sense. The stranger stopped just beyond arm's reach. A flicker, akin to surprise, passed over her face, as if she were expecting a different reaction. For a moment she only studied him, her gaze moving slowly from the corpse to his hands. Her lips parted just slightly as if she were about to say something, but she closed them again and tilted her head, assessing. This poor girl was screaming," Envis managed, gesturing weakly to the body. "I came as fast as I could, but..." His voice faltered as the stranger's eyes met his, depthless and unblinking. She was closer. Much closer, close enough that he could stare up into the fathomless voids of her black eyes. She looked to be in her late 20s. She towered over him as he only reached up to her breasts. "I may have been a tad late," Envis squeaked, his blood turning to ice. "Only the noblest of heroes," she murmured, her voice soft as falling snow, "or the most unfathomable of fools would venture into these woods at night." Envis swallowed and looked down at his bare feet steadily. I'm no hero. I'm just a boy trying to do the right thing." He could feel a subtle dark energy tugging at his heart as the towering stranger studied him for a moment, as if she were appraising him before her gaze shifted again to the corpse. A faint crease formed between her brows, curiosity or something darker. "How peculiar," she murmured. "There isn't nearly enough blood." Envis nodded numbly. "I noticed that too." "Come here, boy." He obeyed before he thought to question it, stepping closer as if pulled by an invisible thread. "What do you think did this?" she asked, a hint of curiosity in her tone. He looked down again, trying to focus his eyes as a strange foreboding settled over his heart. "Brown bear," he said finally, though seeds of doubt were sown in the back of his mind. "Maybe," he added quietly. "A fair guess," she allowed, though the faintest smile played on her lips. "But no, look here." Her black gauntlet brushed the corpse's shoulder, revealing 2 neat puncture wounds near the collarbone. "These," she said softly, "are what you should be afraid of. This is a vampire attack." A cold shiver traced Envis's spine, but he stood in quiet admiration for a brief moment at how perceptive this stranger was. He didn't even notice the bite marks before she pointed them out. What are you doing out here alone, little boy? Envis flushed, bristling despite himself. I'm not little, he said, feigning steely confidence as he forced himself to challenge her black gaze. One white brow arched. Her smirk was tiny, but unmistakable. She lifted her hand to measure over his head, proving her point without a word. He looked away, his cheeks turning a bright cherry red. I was going to rent a room at the inn, but I gave my coin to this girl. His voice trailed off. She needed it more than I did. That was very noble of you. There was something unsettling in the way she said it, like she was deciding how the word tasted on her tongue. She took another step closer and leaned down, just a margin, and Envis caught a faint, metallic tang on her breath. But now, the stranger continued, her voice lowering, you are a lost little lamb, and there are big bad wolves about. A prickle of dread began to twist in Envis's chest. His heart felt as if it were beating in his throat, and his legs began to go numb. I'm not alone, though. I'm with you, Lady Nightis, Envis said quietly, looking up into the stranger's fathomless black eyes as she towered over him. Her expression flickered with something approaching surprise before sharpening considerably. Sharp little tongue you have, she murmured. What is your name, little boy? He bowed again, more out of instinct than anything. Envis of... nowhere. Nowhere? Her black eyes narrowed inquisitively. He shrunk beneath her gaze, folding his arms and looking down shyly. I don't have a home, he whispered softly. The stranger inclined her head as a faint smile teased up the corners of her lips. After a moment, she took a small step back and bobbed a hauntingly graceful curtsy, lifting her cloak and her steel gauntlets with delicate precision. I am Tanabris Mavros, the White Reaper. Envis swallowed as his hands went cold and began to shake, not quite understanding why. Have you heard of me, little Envis? Tanabris asked mildly, her eyes roving him as a hunter's would a prized animal. No, ma'am, Envis said shakily, as the air had grown deathly cold around them. Tanabris slowly offered her gauntleted hand, palm up. Would you like to come home with me? She asked, her voice lowering to something velvet soft as a ghostly black fog began to curl over the grass. It would be such a pity if you ended up like this poor little creature. Envis felt a deep aching in his heart. No one had ever offered him this much kindness before. He reached out his hand, but hesitated, drawing in a shallow breath as a small voice in the back of his mind reminded him that Tanabris was a stranger, and he shouldn't be so trusting. He shoved the thought to the back of his mind as he gingerly placed his hand in her cold gauntlet. I would be honored, Lady Tanabris, Envis said with soft, gentle gratitude, unable to stop the small, helpless smile that tugged at his lips, paying no mind to the unnatural chill in the air. That's a good boy, Tanabris purred. Something haunting and eldritch flickered briefly behind her eyes. Her gauntleted hand closed over his, colder than winter wind as she squeezed with uncomfortable tightness. She turned, leading him away from the road and into the deepening dark. Envis noted absently that she did not look back at the little girl's corpse, but he did, just once before it was swallowed by the thickening, ominous fog. Oh. Okay, now I can finally read chat again. Hi, Infrit. Thanks for the hydration. Thanks for the lurk, Miss Antaya. Yeah, that's the prologue for my book. Hope you guys enjoyed. That was great. Y'all are sweet. Very lovely writing, lovely. Thank you.